There was a time when she felt lost, surrounded by uncertainty and unsure of the path ahead. The world told her to give up, to settle for less, to accept defeat. But deep within her heart, she carried something greater: faith. She believed that God had a plan, even when she couldn't see it. She trusted that He was working behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail of her life for a purpose beyond her imagination. When doors closed, she didn't despair, she prayed harder. When storms raged, she stood firm, knowing that God was her anchor. And then, when she least expected it, the impossible happened. The breakthrough came. The mountains moved. The blessings overflowed, not because of her strength, but because she dared to believe in His power. Today, let this be your reminder: no matter how difficult the journey, how impossible the dream, or how heavy the burden, God is in control. Keep trusting, keep believing, and watch as He turns the impossible into reality. Walk by faith, not by sight. Your miracle is on the way. Faith over fear is a principle that has been echoed throughout history, guiding those who have faced adversity, uncertainty, and challenges that seemed insurmountable. It is the idea that faith, the unwavering belief in something greater than ourselves, is the force that overcomes fear, which is often the barrier that holds people back from reaching their full potential. Fear is a natural human emotion, one that arises when we encounter the unknown, the unpredictable, and the seemingly impossible. It whispers doubts into our minds, telling us we are not strong enough, not capable enough, and that failure is inevitable. But faith speaks a different language. Faith tells us that even when we cannot see the way exists. It assures us that even when the world seems dark, light is ahead. Faith is the ability to trust in the unseen, to believe in possibilities beyond our understanding, and to know that there is a higher power orchestrating every detail of our lives for good. Throughout history, faith has been the foundation of countless triumphs. Those who have accomplished great things, who have overcome immense trials, and who have transformed their lives have done so not because they had no fear, but because their faith was greater than their fear. Fear paralyzes, but faith empowers. Fear tells us to retreat, but faith encourages us to move forward. Fear focuses on obstacles, but faith focuses on opportunity. It is faith that gives people the courage to step out of their comfort zones, to take risks, and to trust that even when they do not have all the answers, they are being led in the right direction. There are many moments in life where faith is tested, when doors close unexpectedly, when dreams seem unattainable, when the weight of struggles becomes overwhelming. Fear begins to take hold. It creeps into the mind, filling it with doubts, anxieties, and worst-case scenarios. It convinces people that they are alone, that their efforts are in vain, and that the mountain before them is too high to climb. But faith challenges that narrative. Faith reminds us that we are never alone, that even in the toughest times, we are being held by a force greater than ourselves. It pushes us to keep going, to believe that even setbacks are part of the process, and to trust that everything is happening according to a divine plan. Faith over fear is not about ignoring reality or pretending that difficulties do not exist. It is about acknowledging fear, but refusing to let it dictate our actions. It is about standing firm in the belief that even though the road ahead is uncertain, it is leading to something greater. Faith is not passive. It is active. It requires making decisions that align with belief rather than fear. It means taking steps forward even when the path is not fully visible. It means choosing to trust even when every logical argument suggests otherwise. Faith requires action, persistence, and an unwavering commitment to keep moving forward despite fear's attempts to hold us back. People often find themselves at a crossroads where they must choose between faith and fear. A new opportunity arises, but fear warns of failure. A dream is within reach, but fear points out the risks. A challenge presents itself, and fear whispers that it is too difficult to overcome. In these moments, Faith is the deciding factor between stagnation and growth. Those who choose faith take the leap, believing that even if they fall, they will be caught. They embrace the unknown, knowing that what is unseen is often far greater than what is seen. They push past their doubts, trusting that every step of the journey is leading them closer to where they are meant to be. Faith over fear is evident in the lives of those who have achieved what once seemed impossible. Many of the greatest leaders, innovators, and visionaries were faced with overwhelming obstacles. They encountered resistance, doubt, and moments where fear could have easily taken over. But they chose faith. They chose to believe in a future that others could not yet see. They persevered when the odds were against them, and they remained steadfast in their convictions. Their stories serve as a testament to the power of faith, proving that fear may be loud, but faith is stronger. Even in everyday life, faith over fear is a principle that brings transformation. It allows people to pursue their passions without being crippled by the fear of failure. It strengthens relationships by encouraging trust instead of suspicion. It fosters resilience, giving people the ability to rise after every fall. Faith creates a mindset that sees possibilities rather than limitations. It allows people to walk through life with confidence, knowing that their steps are guided and that they are capable of overcoming any challenge that comes their way. In moments of difficulty, fear often appears to be the dominant force, but faith provides an alternative perspective. It shifts the focus from what is lacking to what is possible. It reminds people that challenges are not roadblocks, but stepping stones to something greater. Faith cultivates gratitude, even in the midst of hardship, because it understands that every trial carries a lesson and every struggle has a purpose. It instills peace, even in the midst of chaos, because it trusts that there is a divine plan at work. Fear thrives on uncertainty, but faith embraces it. Faith understands that not knowing what lies ahead is not a reason to be afraid, but rather an opportunity to trust. It acknowledges that the journey may not always be easy, but it is always worthwhile. It does not demand to see the entire staircase before taking the first step. It simply takes the step, knowing that the next one will be revealed in due time. The choice between faith and fear is one that presents itself daily. It is found in the decisions we make, the risks we take, and the way we respond to life's challenges. It is a choice that determines whether we remain stuck in hesitation or move forward with confidence. It is the difference between living a life dictated by limitations or one shaped by possibilities. Faith over fear is not about eliminating fear entirely, but about choosing not to be controlled by it. It is about recognizing that fear may always exist, but it does not have to define our actions. It is about standing firm in the belief that there is a purpose for every challenge, a reason for every delay, and a divine hand guiding every step. Faith transforms obstacles into opportunities and turns uncertainties into stepping stones toward greatness. In a world filled with uncertainties, faith is the anchor that keeps us steady. It is the assurance that no matter what happens, we are not alone. It is the confidence that even when we cannot see the way is being made. It is the belief that even when fear tries to hold us back, we have the power to move forward with courage, strength, and unwavering trust. Prayer unlocks miracles in ways that often go beyond human comprehension. It is more than just words spoken into the air. It is a direct connection between the soul and the divine. Through prayer, people tap into a power greater than themselves, one that listens, understands, and intervenes in ways that defy logic. Prayer is the bridge between human limitations and divine possibilities. It is the act of surrendering worries, fears, and desires into the hands of a higher power, trusting that every prayer spoken is heard and every heartfelt cry is acknowledged. It is in these moments of prayer that breakthroughs happen, chains are broken, and the impossible becomes possible. Throughout history, prayer has been the catalyst for countless miracles. People have faced situations where all earthly options were exhausted, where hope seemed lost, and where nothing short of divine intervention could change the outcome. And yet, in those moments of desperation, prayer became the turning point. Prayers for healing have led to recoveries that doctors could not explain. Prayers for provision have resulted in needs being met in ways no one could have predicted. Prayers for guidance have illuminated paths that once seemed impossible to navigate. The stories of miracles through prayer are endless because prayer itself is limitless. Prayer is not about reciting empty words or following a rigid formula. It is about genuine communication with the divine. It is about pouring out the heart, expressing fears, seeking wisdom, and believing that answers will come in the right time and in the right way. Some prayers are answered instantly, while others unfold over time. Some prayers bring immediate change, while others work quietly in the background, orchestrating events in ways unseen until the right moment arrives. There are times when the answer to a prayer is not what was expected, yet in hindsight it is always what was needed. One of the most powerful aspects of prayer is that it is not bound by circumstance. It can be spoken in joy or in sorrow, in confidence or in desperation, in moments of triumph or in moments of trial. Prayer is available to all at any time, in any place. It does not require perfect words or elaborate expressions. It only requires sincerity. Even in silence, when words fail, the heart's cry is enough. The divine listens not just to the words spoken, but to the faith behind them. Prayer moves beyond what the human eye can see and into the realm of what only faith can perceive. The power of prayer lies not only in asking, but also in believing. Many prayers go unanswered, not because they were not heard, but because doubt overshadowed faith. Prayer requires trust. Trust that what has been placed before the divine is now being handled according to a greater plan. It requires letting go of the need for control, releasing worries, and embracing the peace that comes from knowing that every prayer is met with divine wisdom. Sometimes the miracle is not the change in circumstances, but the transformation of the heart. Prayer strengthens faith, deepens trust, and shifts perspectives. In moments of waiting, prayer becomes a source of strength. Waiting for an answer can be difficult, especially when urgency weighs heavily on the heart. Yet it is in the waiting that faith is refined. Through prayer, patience is developed, trust is strengthened, and hope is renewed. Some of the greatest miracles come after seasons of waiting, where faith was tested but never abandoned. The waiting period is not a denial, but a preparation for something greater. Prayer is also a force that breaks chains. Many people carry burdens, whether they are struggles, addictions, fears, or wounds from the past. These burdens can feel impossible to overcome, but through prayer, breakthroughs happen. It is in prayer that strength is renewed, that battles are fought and won, and that the impossible becomes reality. When prayers are lifted with faith, obstacles that once seemed immovable begin to shift. Chains that once held tightly begin to loosen. The power of prayer is not in the words themselves, but in the faith behind them and the divine response that follows. There are moments when prayers seem to go unanswered, leading to doubt and frustration. But every prayer is acknowledged, and every prayer sets something into motion. Sometimes the answer is different from what was expected, but it is always aligned with a higher purpose. What seems like a delay is often divine timing. What seems like silence is often preparation. Faith in prayer is not just about receiving answers. It is about trusting the process, knowing that each prayer spoken carries weight in the spiritual realm. The consistency of prayer is also key to unlocking miracles. It is not a one-time action, but a lifestyle. The more prayer becomes a daily practice, the more attuned the heart becomes to recognizing the divine at work. Miracles are not always grand displays. Sometimes they are quiet, subtle shifts that unfold over time. Small provisions, unexpected doors opening, moments of peace in the midst of chaos. These are all miracles that prayer brings. Prayer changes perspectives, aligns hearts with divine wisdom, and allows people to see beyond the immediate challenges. Faith-filled prayer does not focus on limitations but on possibilities. It does not dwell on what is lacking but on the abundance that is available through divine provision. Prayer is the key that unlocks doors that no man can shut, that turns impossibilities into testimonies, and that transforms fear into confidence. It is the ultimate act of surrender, the acknowledgement that human strength alone is not enough, but with divine intervention all things are possible. The greatest miracles often come through persistent prayer. There are moments when faith is tested, when it feels as though prayers are unheard, but those who continue to pray despite the silence experience breakthroughs beyond imagination. Persistence in prayer is not about convincing the divine to act. It is about strengthening faith and deepening trust. It is about remaining steadfast even when circumstances seem unchanged, knowing that every prayer is working toward something greater. Miracles through prayer are not just personal. They extend beyond individuals to families, communities, and even nations. History is filled with moments where prayer changed the course of events, where divine intervention turned situations around, and where people experience a collective breakthrough. Prayer unites, strengthens, and brings people together in ways that nothing else can. When people come together in prayer, faith multiplies and miracles unfold on an even greater scale. Prayer is an invitation to the divine to step into human circumstance. It is the key that unlocks doors of possibility, the force that moves mountains, and the act that shifts the atmosphere. It is the assurance that no matter how difficult the situation, no matter how impossible the odds, there is always a way through. Prayer is not just about speaking, it is also about listening, about receiving divine wisdom, about being led in the right direction. It is in prayer that clarity is found, that burdens are lifted, and that the miraculous becomes a reality. Obedience brings breakthrough in ways that defy human logic. It is often in the moments of surrender, when a person chooses to follow divine instruction rather than personal understanding, that doors begin to open and transformation takes place. Obedience is not always easy. It requires trust, discipline, and a willingness to move forward even when the path is unclear. Many times, people want breakthroughs without the process that leads to them. But obedience is the bridge between where a person is and where they are meant to be. It is the act of listening, yielding, and acting in alignment with divine wisdom, even when it does not make sense in the natural. Obedience requires faith because it often demands action before results are visible. It calls for stepping into the unknown, trusting that the steps taken in faith will be met with divine provision. Many times, instructions from above will challenge human reasoning. They may require letting go of something comfortable, taking a risk, or moving in a direction that seems illogical. Yet those who have experienced breakthroughs know that it is obedience that sets miracles into motion. The greatest transformations do not happen through hesitation, but through decisive steps of faith. One of the biggest barriers to obedience is fear. Fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, and fear of stepping outside of personal comfort zones often hold people back from walking in obedience. The mind begins to rationalize, questioning whether the instruction is truly meant to be followed. Doubts arise, making obedience seem risky, but true obedience requires overcoming fear with trust. It is the decision to move forward despite uncertainty, knowing that divine wisdom is greater than human understanding. When obedience replaces fear, faith is activated and supernatural breakthroughs begin to unfold. Another challenge to obedience is the desire for immediate results. People often expect to see instant changes when they follow divine instruction, but obedience is not always about instant gratification. Sometimes obedience requires persistence, a willingness to keep walking in faith even when nothing seems to change. It is in the consistency of obedience that breakthroughs are built. Just as a seed does not sprout the moment it is planted, obedience often requires patience. The results may not be visible immediately, but every step of obedience is a step closer to the breakthrough that is coming. Obedience also requires humility. It demands a willingness to set aside personal plans, desires, and understanding in favor of divine direction. It means acknowledging that human wisdom is limited and that divine guidance is always perfect. Humility allows a person to submit to the process, to embrace the lessons that come with obedience, and to recognize that every instruction serves a greater purpose. Many people struggle with obedience because they want to be in control. But true breakthroughs happen when control is surrendered and trust is placed in something greater. There are countless examples of people who have experienced breakthroughs because they chose obedience over comfort. Some have walked away from lucrative opportunities because they felt led in a different direction, only to find that their obedience opened doors they never could have imagined. Others have made difficult sacrifices, letting go of relationships, habits, or mindsets that were holding them back, and in doing so, stepped into a new level of freedom and purpose. The stories of those who have trusted and obeyed serve as reminders that obedience is never in vain. Obedience is often tested in moments of uncertainty. When circumstances seem unstable and answers are unclear, the temptation is to take matters into personal hands rather than following divine direction. Yet it is in these moments that obedience is most powerful. Choosing to follow instructions despite uncertainty is an act of faith that sets miracles into motion. Every major breakthrough is preceded by a test of obedience, and those who pass the test find themselves stepping into the fullness of what is meant for them. Breakthroughs that come through obedience are not always in the form people expect. Sometimes obedience leads to external blessings, new opportunities, financial provision, healed relationships. But sometimes the breakthrough is internal. A breakthrough in peace, in confidence, in emotional healing, or in spiritual growth can be just as significant as any external change. Obedience shifts something within, aligning the heart and mind with divine purpose. When obedience becomes a lifestyle, breakthroughs become a natural part of the journey. Resistance to obedience often comes from a place of doubt. People question whether what they feel led to do is truly the right path. They hesitate, waiting for further confirmation or a clearer sign. But obedience does not always come with full clarity. It requires trust in the process. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen when people step out in obedience, even when they do not fully understand the why. Clarity often comes after obedience, not before. Obedience is also about faithfulness in the small things. Many people wait for big breakthroughs, but overlook the small acts of obedience that lead to them. Being diligent with daily responsibilities, maintaining integrity in small decisions, showing kindness even when it is not easy. These are all acts of obedience that prepare the way for greater breakthroughs. A person who is faithful with small instructions is positioned to handle larger blessings. Obedience in small matters builds the character needed to sustain greater opportunities. There are moments when obedience requires standing alone. Not everyone will understand the choices made in obedience to divine direction. Friends, family, and society may question the decisions that do not align with conventional wisdom. But obedience is not about pleasing people. It is about following the path that leads to purpose. Many who have experienced breakthroughs have had to walk alone for a season, trusting that obedience would eventually lead them to where they were meant to be. Obedience is not always comfortable. It can be inconvenient, challenging, and even painful at times. It may require walking away from something familiar, enduring criticism, or making sacrifices that do not seem to make sense in the moment. Yet discomfort is often the pathway to transformation. Breakthroughs do not come from staying in comfort zones. They come from stepping out in faith. Those who are willing to endure temporary discomfort for the sake of obedience often find themselves in places of unimaginable blessing. Obedience also cultivates peace. When a person knows they are walking in alignment with divine purpose, there is an inner confidence that cannot be shaken. Even when challenges arise, there is an assurance that every step taken in obedience is leading to something greater. Fear loses its grip when faith in the process becomes stronger than the desire for immediate certainty. Peace is found not in having all the answers, but in trusting that obedience is leading to the right destination. There are times when obedience requires revisiting past instructions. Many people miss out on breakthroughs because they abandon an instruction too soon. They start in obedience but give up when results do not come quickly enough. True obedience is not about temporary action, but about commitment. Revisiting past instructions and following through on what was previously ignored can reignite breakthroughs that were delayed. Every instruction holds significance, and no step of obedience is wasted. Obedience is the foundation for lasting breakthroughs. It is not about performing rituals or following rules out of obligation, but about aligning actions with divine wisdom. Those who walk in obedience unlock doors that cannot be opened by human effort alone. They position themselves for opportunities, favor, and miracles that go beyond their own abilities. Obedience is not just about receiving blessings. It is about transformation, growth, and stepping into the fullness of what is meant to be. When obedience becomes a priority, breakthroughs become inevitable. God's timing is perfect, even when it does not align with human expectations. There are moments in life when it feels as though time is running out, when delays seem endless, and when prayers appear to go unanswered. The natural response to waiting is frustration, doubt, and the temptation to take matters into personal hands. However, what often appears as a delay is actually divine alignment. Timing is not random. Every moment, every season, and every transition serve a greater purpose that is often unseen until the right time arrives. There is a reason why certain doors remain closed, even when they seem like the best possible option. There is a reason why some opportunities pass by, even when they seem perfect in the moment. The human mind perceives time in a linear way, but divine wisdom operates outside of human limitations. What may feel like a denial is often a redirection towards something far greater. The struggle with timing is that people often assume that their understanding of what is best is the ultimate truth. Yet time and time again, those who have trusted in divine timing have seen that what once seemed like a delay was actually protection, preparation, or positioning for something better. Patience is one of the most difficult virtues to cultivate because it requires trust without immediate evidence. The challenge of waiting is that it often feels unproductive, as though nothing is happening behind the scenes. But waiting is not a passive season. It is an active period of growth, learning, and strengthening. A delay is not wasted time. It is preparation for the moment when everything aligns perfectly. The greatest breakthroughs often come after extended seasons of waiting. Many of the most significant moments in life arrive unexpectedly, yet precisely when they are meant to. One of the biggest struggles with divine timing is comparison. It is easy to look at others who seem to be moving forward faster, achieving more, or receiving blessings sooner, and to question whether something is wrong. The temptation to rush ahead or force an outcome becomes stronger when surrounded by others who seem to be progressing effortlessly. But every individual journey is unique, and comparing timelines leads to unnecessary frustration. Just as every seed has its own season to sprout, every person's path unfolds in its own perfect time. What may appear to be a delay is often just a different timeline that leads to an even greater purpose. Trusting in perfect timing requires letting go of control. Many people struggle with surrendering their own plans, fearing that waiting means missing out. But trust means believing that what is meant to happen will happen exactly when it is supposed to. It means understanding that missed opportunities are often divine protection from something that was never meant to be. It means realizing that some blessings require a level of preparation that cannot be rushed. There are moments when things do not make sense, when prayers seem unheard, and when the waiting feels unbearable. But looking back, every season of waiting will reveal its purpose. Timing is not just about receiving the right thing, it is about being the right person to receive it. A breakthrough given too soon can be overwhelming, mismanaged, or even harmful. Many times, what seems like a delay is actually a season of refining, where character, strength, and wisdom are developed to handle what is coming. Without this period of preparation, the very thing that is meant to be a blessing could become a burden. Waiting seasons are where patience is tested, faith is strengthened, and resilience is built. There are many examples of people who have tried to rush the process, only to find themselves in situations they were not ready for. A rushed decision, a forced relationship, an impulsive move. These often lead to frustration and regret. The consequences of moving ahead without divine timing can be difficult, but even then, grace allows for redirection. Mistakes do not cancel out purpose, they simply serve as lessons that reinforce the importance of trusting in the right timing. Those who have learned to wait with faith have seen that what is truly meant for them can never be lost. In moments of uncertainty, divine timing becomes the greatest test of faith. It is easy to trust when everything is going according to plan. But true faith is tested in the waiting period, when prayers seem unanswered, when nothing seems to be changing, and when doubts begin to creep in. Faith is the anchor that holds everything. There are seasons where silence feels overwhelming, where it seems as though nothing is happening. But just because something is not visible does not mean it is not unfolding. The most intricate miracles are often the ones that take time to fully develop. Timing also plays a role in relationships. Many people grow impatient, forcing relationships that are not meant to be, or settling for less than what is truly aligned with their purpose. Waiting for the right relationships, whether friendships, partnerships, or romantic connections, requires patience and trust. The right people enter at the right time, and when they do, the connection is effortless, purposeful, and fulfilling. Forcing something too soon often leads to disappointment, but waiting for the right alignment results in relationships that bring joy, growth, and lasting impact. Trusting in timing does not mean sitting idly by, waiting for things to happen without effort. It means being faithful in the present, doing what is necessary in the now, and preparing for what is coming. It means growing in character, sharpening skills, and embracing the lessons of the current season. Many people miss the beauty of their present because they are too focused on what is ahead. But every moment serves a purpose, and even the waiting period holds blessings that should not be overlooked. Timing often requires endurance. Some breakthroughs take longer than expected, and the temptation to give up becomes stronger. The difference between those who experience breakthroughs and those who miss them is persistent. Those who continue to trust, who refuse to be discouraged by delays, and who remain steadfast despite the challenges are the ones who see the fullness of what is meant for them. Giving up too soon often means missing out on something that was just around the corner. There are moments when breakthroughs come suddenly after long seasons of waiting. The shift happens in an instant, but the process leading up to it was gradual. Many times things seem unchanged on the surface, but beneath the surface things are aligning perfectly. It is in the unseen, in the background, in the moments that feel stagnant, that everything is coming together. When the time is right, everything falls into place effortlessly. Divine timing is evident in the smallest details of life. The right conversation at the right time, the unexpected opportunity, the moment of clarity, all of these are reminders that things unfold exactly when they are meant to. Even setbacks serve a purpose. Sometimes what seems like a failure is actually a redirection. Sometimes what feels like a loss is actually a setup for something greater. Looking back, every disappointment, every closed door, and every delay will make sense in light of what is ultimately received. Faith in timing brings peace. Instead of worrying about when things will happen, there is an assurance that they will happen at the right time. Instead of stressing over delays, there is confidence that nothing is truly delayed, only aligned with a better plan. Those who trust in timing do not live in frustration. They live in expectation. They do not fear missing out because they know that what is truly meant for them will never pass them by.